My name is Daniel Ekman, and we're going to be doing a testimony about kind of why our services are important and why they should be fully funded. Before we start the testimonies, I'm going to give kind of a brief overview based on some notes that I actually got from a provider, just about some of the background, some of the needs that we have. So just a quick snapshot. There was a rate study done, which basically helps figure out what should people be paid for the services that they provide. And right now, 19 of the 34 developmental disability waiver services are funded at the rate that's recommended. But what that means is there's 15 services on the waiver that are not funded at an appropriate rate. They're funded on rates that were done 10 years ago in 2011, based on a minimum wage of $7.50, which obviously is no longer the minimum wage. There is a need for $15.2 million to fully fund all of the services. And then the Developmental Disability Supports Division received $5.9 million. So obviously there's a big difference in the number that was funded. And then there's certain changes that have happened with providers that has made it a little bit difficult for them because there hasn't been the increased funding to kind of take those on. There's the final rule, CMS final rule, which is going to require more individual supports. Electronic visit verification implementation, which is a new way of kind of monitoring when people start and when people finish their services. There's been changes to the tax laws, which basically have required providers now to pay the tax rate in each individual county, which has made it really difficult for them as far as keeping track of finances. There's minimum wage increases. There's been mandates for paid sick leave and time off. There's things like workers' comp, health insurance, and then there's been pressure to offer more wages, and that's made it difficult because they've had to offer higher wages to compete with, let's say, an Amazon, which is paying $20 an hour, or businesses that are offering sign-on bonuses to try to get enough workers, direct support workers. And that has been a real challenge because they are trying to offer it. There's no increase in kind of the funding to account for that. There's also been 12 provider agencies that have shut down in 9 months, which is, again, a challenge because we don't exactly have a surplus of provider agencies. And I'm not even going to go through all the different services that are funded. All medically fragile waiver services are funded at 100%, but that's not the case with the DD waiver, as I mentioned before. And just an example of some of the services that aren't funded at the new rates, things like speech language pathology, occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavior support consultation, respite, adult nursing services, individual community services, so services provided out in the community, community inclusion aids, customized in-home supports, family living. So these aren't kind of secondary services. These are the major services in many cases that people are offered. And also just a reminder that we still have a very significant wait list and that there's not nearly enough funding to get rid of the wait list that we have. We're still allocating people that were registered back in 2008 for almost all regions, and for the Southeast it's 2009. So that's just to give a brief overview of some of the issues that providers are seeing that we face. And I've gone for about 4 minutes, and the reason I wanted to do that is that's about how long we're looking for the testimonies to be. So before we go on, does anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, Daniel.
Sure.
Yeah. My name is Wendy, and I work with the Developmental Disability Council. And I'm also the leader of the New Mexico Advocate Leaders, and we're kind of the ones that are hosting this. That's a group of self-advocate agencies around the state. And I think, we thought this was really important to do because there seems to be some perhaps a lack of understanding or misunderstanding about the financial part of the waivers. Like, for example, as Daniel said, some of the services on the DD and NMEVA waiver are fully funded, but they're not all fully funded. And so it seems that sometimes the legislators think that everything is fully funded, and so they don't need to put more money in. And the reality is that some of them are actually fully funded, like they say, but some of them are not. And so that's a big problem. Also with the waiting list, the legislators across the aisles are very, very good to DDSD, and they have a very strong bipartisan support for people with disabilities. We're very, very happy about that. However, with the waiting list, what happens is that if, say, for example, they provide extra money for 100 people to come off the waiting list, what happens is that, yes, they have given money for 100 people to come off the waiting list. However, what the other reality is that 125 people have been added to the waiting list during that time. And so even if the legislator does, provide for an extra 100 people to come off the waiting list, because 125 have been added to the waiting list, we just continually get behind. And so again, the legislators have been extremely supportive across the aisle, which we're very grateful for, but there does need to be more funding for the waiver, for the waiting list, and then also for providers because of those certain services that have not been fully funded. So that's why we thought it was important. The budget hearings are coming up very soon. And so we really wanted to make a statement that we support our providers, we support the waiting list money. And so really wanted to hear from advocates and parents, because you're the ones that can make a difference and speak to the hearts of legislators. So thank you so much for joining us.
So good morning, everyone. I am Lindsay Sloan. I am an employee of the Developmental Disabilities Council, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. I'm going to try not to facilitate too much, because hearing y'all's experience is much more important than listening to me. So Roel and Crystal, would you like to start us off?
I'm Crystal, and this is Roel Adamson. He wanted me to talk today, by the way. Roel is on the DD Waiver services, and he's I use his budgets. He has not been receiving a lot of services just because a lot of the budget had cut, and my hours got cut down as well. Luckily, we are still on the services. And that's, is there anything else for Roel to add to that? Well, for me, luckily we got Roel's mom here who helps pay for a lot of, for me working a bit extra hours for Roel's presentations. Roel's presentations take a long time to program, even if it's only for 2 hours. Sometimes it takes up to 8 hours just to program everything in. And I don't get paid throughout the entire 8 hours. Sometimes his mom has to pay me just so I can get the sufficient funds to pay for my own bills, to live a more sufficient life in my personal life. Roel's auntie, I think, could benefit from it, because she would be a lot more safer with the caregiver, and she would probably be able to do a lot more activities on her own if she had her own caregiver and her own budget. She would have her own therapies that she could benefit in life. Like, I want to say, for customized community supports, she can get out there and have more fun going to baseball games like she really wants. Right now, she's kind of just stuck in the house, and she would like to get out more. His auntie's actually on the waiting list, and she's been waiting for about 15 years. They keep sending her letters that she's on the waiting list. She's on the waiting list. So she would like some caregiving too, since her parents are getting much, much older. And they would really appreciate her getting on some type of budget and going forward with that as well.
Great.
My name is Amelia Dickey. I am a 31-year-old, dedicated, hardworking self-advocate who is very passionate about not only advocating for myself, but also for those in my community. I have been receiving waiver services since 2014. Even with the ups and downs, I am truly grateful for the services I am receiving in the media waiver. Why are media services important to me? Receiving the services that media approves based on my needs are extremely important because they allow me to improve and refresh my physical, emotional, and mental health, rejuvenate, re-energize, and help me to become a totally different person. They are also important for my social skills and help my special needs. They also allow me to grow and blossom as an individual with a
I'm
disability.
Shauna Heath, and I have been receiving the DD waiver for a very long time. My coordinator, Fabian Cordova, works with the DD waiver services, and I have a terrific team, and I have everything I want and need. I might not have the things I need. I like transportation to go here and there. And without the DD waiver, it would be very hard not to have it. Thank you.
My name is Alice Ramos, and I live in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. The DD waiver helps me because I get speech OT and PT. And the speech helped me to speak, and the OT teaches me how to use my fingers, and the PT helps me how to walk, and I think that's it.
What would be some consequences if you were not able to receive those services, either completely or partially or not at all?
No, well, I wanted to, because those friends what I have are my friends, like PTOT and all those. Yeah, and they help me survive. So, and in transportation is my mom helped me go go somewhere. So yeah, and my dad. So
Would it be fair to say that having access to your services improves your quality of life?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, I think it makes a whole lot difference too.
My name is James England, and I live in Portales, New Mexico. My experiences for the DD waiver, it's pretty interesting. We get to do a lot of things, say, with other people, community, and projects in town. We go to the fellowship center, we hang out with our friends, we go out to different places, like say like our ball games or my transportation back and forth from work and stuff like that. And so that means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our staff, because that helps them out too in the long run too, to be a part of our program and our community and stuff like this to help out other people.
Great. And what would be some consequences if the services were not provided fully or enough?
Services will not be provided. I wouldn't be able to have help with my home. transportation back and forth to my medicals, like in town, like eyes, dentist, or any other kind of appointment things like that too, because we really depend on the services we do have, so we can go to our appointments and stuff.
I'm Laura, and this is my daughter Sabrina. We live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sabrina's been on the waiver for quite some time, and I was actually fortunate enough for somebody to tell me when she was an infant to get on the list, and my heart goes out to the people that are still waiting to you know, receive these services, because they are so important. I would think that the major consequence of it would be that Sabrina, if I was not able to, I'm her in-home living provider. And I would think that if she wasn't able to be at home, it would be actually very heartbreaking to our family. We're part of a very big family, and Sabrina really enjoys being around everybody. Even though she can't talk, she's nonverbal, but she does smile and laugh and lets me know that she's happy. So I didn't really think to prepare like what to say. So do you maybe want to ask me anything else?
Sure. What has your experience been with receiving services in an adequate way?
I think that I've been, you know, it's been nice to receive the services, and I guess not really having to worry about, you know, she does get physical therapy. Of course, she was in a day hab until the whole pandemic hit, which is unfortunate, because I think that she really enjoyed being around her peers. And I do recognize Shauna. Hi, Shauna. We miss everybody that was part of the day hab. And hopefully those services will get back in play one of these days, when we feel like it's all safe to be, of course, around everybody again. But I think all in all, we've been happy. I feel very grateful that that these services are available to us.
Good. Go ahead, Marla. DD Waiver has helped me become independent as best as I can. I have support and help with when I do not understand my bills, mail. I can't drive. My mom drives me to places like my doctor's appointment, to movies and shopping. My health SLP with Amy Stevenson helps me with my speaking, reading, and learning more. PT with Fernando helped me be a healthier person, keep my back healthy. Without these services, my life will not be as healthy. I am learning how to cook. My mom and caregivers are teaching me. Going on trips with caregivers, I have fun with them. My service coordinator and case manager make sure I have a healthy, good life. Do you have any more to say? Do you have any more to say? You. Oh, Do you have any more to say, honey? yeah. I'm aching to go out in the community, but I can't. So what I do is I go on the internet and look up some stuff that I like and stuff. So what I do is, that's the only way for going out in the outing, is by doing that. It's fun for me.
I have a quick question for you. How different would your life be if you did not have your services in place? Your caregivers and your coordinator and all of that.
I wouldn't be healthy that I can be. So I'm blessed to have a family that loves me.
Thank you very much.
I'm her mom. My name is Sylvia Gonzalez.
Mhm.
And is it okay if I just share something or
Yes.
some important facts? Without these services, Marla would not be getting her speech and language therapy, which is she needs. Otherwise, she backslides. As well as physical therapy. Without her physical therapy, her body and her health issues would, of course, be addressed by me, but I also have to take care of other parts of her life. So having these support systems for her, they're able to help her with areas I don't have the professional knowledge that they do. The other thing is the service coordinators and case managers have been a blessing with their knowledge in helping Marla learn how to be more independent so that when she talks to me and her caregivers, she gives us her ideas, whether her wants, her needs, her likings. And without the DD waiver, I also would have to go back to work. She wouldn't be able to have somebody to drive her to all her doctor's appointments. You know, when I was working, it was very difficult. And I wasn't able to be on a one-on-one with her at home to teach her many things. So when she did get on the waiver, she blossomed. You know, she had more confidence. She was able to do more Special Olympics things. You know, she was very active in her Special Olympics, and it was because I was also able to get her to places that she needed to be during the day and the evening. And she just has been able to also advocate for herself in more ways than one, and has been a good example for a lot of kids and younger generations that's coming up. People that we've met parents have been very impressed, and I've kind of shared with them how to get on the DD waiver to help them get started early. And I just think it's vitally important that that funding continues, and especially for those who are on the waiting list. I mean, they are missing valuable time to get their children these extra services so that they can become as independent and healthy as possible.
Hi, my name is Lauriann, and my daughter Raven receives me via waiver services. She's made incredible progress with OT, PT, and behavioral health. My concern with these services not being fully funded is that we will lose incredible therapists that help our children or those on DD waiver and me via waiver succeed. My thought is that they're going to move on to more lucrative positions, and these services are critical for our children. These services need to be fully funded, and I request that the legislature do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, honorable representative and senators. My name is Alicia Lucoski. I am 42 years old, self-advocate, and I have autism and cerebral palsy. I am also a taxpayer because I work part-time. The Developmental Disability Waiver services have helped me be a productive member and have a competitive integrated employment in my community, because people with disabilities have the potential to contribute to the world of work. This is the fundamental of human rights. Please do not cut any fundings and support the DD Waiver services. It will hurt so many people like me to live and work in the community. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my name is Patrick Ruiz, and I'm in Albuquerque, and I'm a caregiver for this little gentleman named Pablo Chavira Jr. His nickname is Isidro, and so I'm going to refer to him as Isidro. He was on the waiting list for 10 years, and he's only been on the program for a year. Before the program, let me just say this. Before the program, one of the things that I would do to help us with food is go to a grocery store that had all organic food, and I would ask them if they had their compost. Their compost was stuff that was old, stuff that they were going to toss, and I would take it and I would glean through it just for some of our food. Okay, the image behind me is a computer generated image. It's not where I live or where I work. Okay, let me just say that. The other thing is, this funding, legislators, is critical funding. So why do I say critical? Because this funding is to the most vulnerable part of our population, period. I guess one of the things that comes to my mind is, what do the legislators know? What do they know? How close are they? Do they have somebody who is a part of this program who they take care of? Probably not. So how do they know how critical this is? How do they even think this? What is the value of this portion of the population? Really, I think that's really what the question that they ask themselves, and since they're so distended or apart from this issue, let me answer that question. Here's the value in the people that we serve. They teach us how to be better people, how to be better humans. They make us better humans when we serve them. I'm going to tell you a little story about this young boy named Shia. Him and his dad were out at a park. His dad was recalling this story to the PTA and all of the administrators of the school that Shia went to. And this is where I learned the value of this population. So Shia and his dad were at a park, and they came upon two teams of boys that were playing some really good baseball. And Shia asked his dad, "Hey, can I play? Can I play?" And his dad didn't want to say no. He didn't want to be the bad guy. So he said, "Well, let's go ask him." Of course, the dad thought that they were going to say no, but to his surprise, the boy said, "Sure, bring him on, bring him in." So Shia went on one of the teams. Fast forward to the bottom of the ninth. The team that is out in the field is ahead by a run. Bases are loaded. And who comes up? It was Shia's bat. They could have pulled in, they could have, put a pinch hitter in for Shia, but no, it was his up. So they put him up at the plate, and he was standing there. And the pitcher on the other team, with intention, got real close so that he could lob the ball in, just lob it in. Shia was so profoundly physically incapable. He basically took a swing at the ball. Like, It could have been a basketball. He would have missed it. So with intention, remember from his team, came up behind him and he said, here, Shia, come here. I'm gonna help you with this. Come on, together, we're gonna hit that ball. He grabbed the bat and held Shia. Pitcher again lobbed the ball in. Together, they both swung the bat. It barely made contact. End of the bat, just booped out to the pitcher. Right away, the batter, run, Shia, run. Shia took off, loping to first base. Pitcher picked up the ball. He could have easily thrown him out at first base, but what did he do? With intention, he overthrew first base, went out to right field. Shia went past first base. The first baseman, no, Shia, you redirected Shia. There goes Shia going to second base. Right fielder picks up the ball. By that time, Shia was kind of rounding second, headed toward third. And that right fielder, he threw well past the third baseman. Well past. They could have tagged. There goes Shia redirecting him to home plate. When he crossed home plate, both teams were there surrounding Shia, holding him up. To me, people that we serve really help us to be more godlike. They help us to see the better portion of ourselves. And this is what my little guy does for me, Isidro. And before he had funds, we were struggling. So I'm praying every day that these legislators and people that have the abilities to keep these kinds of programs in place do so, because it will help them to be more godlike. It will help them to achieve their highest level of humanity. That's why we're here on this planet. I thank you for your time and for your patience and listening. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Vegas, New Mexico.
Great. And did you have something prepared, or would you like me to ask you questions?
You asked me questions.
Okay. What has been your experience with the DD waiver and DD services? Like, has it been good? Has it been not so good? Does it depend on what service?
It depends on what service. I don't know.
I'm so sorry. Would you mind repeating that? My screen reader was talking at me, so I didn't hear you.
It depends on service.
Can you explain a little bit more about that? About why no?
My service might pretty or it's difficult to find.
Okay, Alice we have been blessed, as that other mother did mention, that Alice was placed on the DD waiver request when she was still in high school, which made it much easier, because when she got out, Medicaid was able to cover her healthcare needs. She has been wheelchair dependent since she was 8 months old, and thanks to the DD Waiver program, we've been able to keep her in wheelchairs, and she is able to attend all her activities in her van. The services that the parents are paid for help pay for her care 7/24, because it just doesn't stop during the day. Parents have to, have that service somehow reimbursed to be helped with that. Because of Alice's activities, she's able to attend the relationship class, which I know DD Waiver pays for, and that helps her be around other people. We took a hit during pandemic, but we're back and going with relationship class. And she was also able to go to the Leadership in Partners program in Albuquerque. So all of this has made her a full functioning individual. The only thing is she's been in a wheelchair. So we want to thank the legislators. They need to understand the full impact that they do have on all of these individuals, whether they're wheelchair bound, whether they have any kind of disability. They need to remember that they are impacting people's lives immensely, not just the individuals, the adults, but the families.
Essentially, the issue that's coming up, and this is something with the legislators, is the legislators have given some funding for services and some funding for the wait list. They're under the impression, I know with the rate study, they're under the impression of, well, we funded the services, but not all of them are funded at the same amount. They didn't fund every single service. Same with the wait list. They'll say, well, we funded this much for the wait list, so that many people came off. But as Wendy explained, there's always people being added to the wait list as well, because it had been, and it's not just that, but when you build up a wait list of 10 years, it's really hard to find an amount of funding that will address that entire wait list. So it's kind of making legislators aware of the fact that, there's still funding that needs to happen for services. And it's important because we're talking about people's lives and people's livelihoods and family relationships and, family members and community members. I mean, we're talking about people that are in our community every day. And we're talking about, adequate funding can make the difference between someone being able to, even do something as simple as be able to live in a family setting versus having to live in a more isolated setting, or being able to go out and spend with other people. Something even as basic as that can come from adequate funding for services.
Parents should know that when family learns that their child has been diagnosed with intellectual or development disability, and that your child has the eligibility, so their child can be on the DD waiver.
My name is Denise Sandoval. I'm in the Bernalillo County area. My son Derek Rogers is not with me right now. He is currently working at his full-time position, but I just wanted to make sure that our voice was heard in stating that the DD waiver, Derek has only been on it since January of 2021. We were on the waiver list for 14 years. And in that 14 years, it was up to me to decide what the great course of action was for him. He was on receiving New Mexico State General Funds, which only allotted him 20 hours a month. I think with the DD waiver, the programs that he is on right now, he's able to actively be in the community with his friends and family and doing fun and interesting things and being able to travel and being able to be more independent away from me. And without these funds, I just don't see how he would continue to be able to do that unless I quit my job and make sure that I'm able to afford him the opportunities to be able to travel, to be able to be in this world and in this life and be a contributing member of society. He was eligible to receive Social Security income for a number of years, but then when he was working part-time, then they said he was making too much money, they took him off. So there's very limited opportunities out there for people with disabilities. Every training that we've ever gone through, I don't know about the rest of you, but as a caregiver, I've had to attend multiple trainings. And what they're telling me is that I need to make sure that we are actively involving him in the community, that we are providing services for them. Unless you are financially able to do that, I mean, I just don't understand how the programs, without the programs, how we're going to be able to do that. Remember, all the trainings tell us that we don't put our people with disabilities in institutions anymore. They're leaving it up to us, but in order to leave it up to us, we need the resources to be able to provide for our loved ones. I think that's all I really have to say, other than our personal folks that we're working with over at AEU are amazing. And I just don't know what my son would be doing right now. Probably not living the fullest life he could. That's what he would be doing. And that's all I have to say. If you guys have any questions or anything.
Just for those that are not aware, would you mind telling us what AEU is?
Oh, that's the sources. Right now we're working with, I was going to say Active Solutions, but that's who he was with State General Funds. AEU is run by Leo and Paula. And I'm just having like a brain lapse what the company is. Like I said, we haven't been with them that long. We do have a case manager. Her name is Ryan. And we have an occupational therapist, which Derek has not received occupational therapy for so long because his insurance, his personal and private insurance company, which is good, doesn't allow for more than a few weeks of occupational therapy because they're not looking at it from a disability standpoint, but more of, you know, did he hurt his wrist, or, you know, when he broke his shoulder, or when he broke his elbow. So those kinds of things.
I just want to thank everyone for taking your time to be on yet another Zoom call, and for sharing parts of yourselves and parts of your lives, and helping the legislators understand why fully funding services is so important to our community.